Hello, my name is Clean Rooster. You may know me by other names, but I am the developer of Spellblade, and I will be showing you today what I've been working on and what Spellblade currently has to offer. So, right now, I'm going to show you what a Spellblade is and what it does. So, if you look at the bottom left corner of the screen, as I channel the Spellblade by holding Shift and right click, my ward goes up. That is your ward on the bottom left corner of the screen. Right now, it says that it's 80 out of 80 almost, and my Spellblade has turned a light shade of blue. That means that because my Spellblade has reached 80 ward, it has more damage, and I am taking a certain amount less damage. Currently, ward gives 50% damage reduction for every 50 of it that you have, and for every 20 or 40 ward that you get, your Spellblade changes color and deals 25% more damage multiplicatively. Both of these things are multiplicatively, which means that they multiply with each other rather than stack additively. For example, because I have 80 ward, instead, I have reached the 40 and 80 thresholds for ward. My sword does 7.81 damage compared to its usual 5 damage. If it were pink, which means that we're at 40 ward, it would do 6.25 damage. Okay, so here is the warded armor. It's currently a reskinned mysterious armor from the Minecraft Dungeons pack, I believe. Minecraft Dungeons Armor Pack mod. So if you're the creator of that mod and you have any problems with me using that texture in order to make this the texture for this armor set, please let me know. What it currently does is it gives you 40 base ward. So I should probably tell you what base ward does. At the bottom left corner of the screen, you see the current ward on the left side and the base ward on the right side, which means that your current ward goes logarithmically towards the base ward, which means that basically the ward, the farther it is from your base ward, the faster it goes towards the base ward. So I should show you how to make these warded armor. It currently takes iron helmets in the smithing table added with warded iron, and warded iron takes amethyst shards, diamonds, and iron ingots. So I will show you now the totem system, which is you place down a totem, and as long as this totem is down and you're not connected with this totem in any shape or form, you cannot modify anything nearby. You can still hurt things, but you can't modify blocks, you can't cast spells, nothing. So what that means though is that you can right click on the warding totem, that's what it's called, on the warding totem, and it will tell you that you've inscribed your name, which means that you can now do things inside it, and it will give you a buff called Totem Zeal, which gives you 40 base ward at all times additionally. So now, as you can see, I'm wearing the warded armor and getting the buff, and I am now at 80 base ward. So now let's cover some spells. Here's the lightning whirl spell. You can just cast it from the head like this, and it will whirl you around like you were using your Riptide Trident. But the cool thing about Spellblade is that if you shift right click with it in your hand, or if you go into your inventory, survival inventory, make sure you're in your survival inventory, and you right click on it, it activates it too. When it's activated, you can cast it off of your Spellblade just like this. So this allows you to have it anywhere in your inventory and still hurt things with your spells, with your Spellblade in your hand. So that's a feature that I added recently. allowing you to cast Spellblades. That's Lightning Whirl. Here's let's cover Vegetable Stance later. Spinning Trident. If you cast it from the book, it shoots a trident that splits into a bunch of tridents and leaves a bunch of particles that damage enemies. If you activate it and cast it from your sword, it rains these tridents instead. So next is Ward Flux, which is one of my personal favorites. It was inspired by a character named Rise from the game League of Legends. Basically, if you know what Rise does, it fluxes an enemy, and you flux them again, and it fluxes nearby enemies. You flux them again, those nearby enemies get fluxed, and flux nearby enemies, and so on. You can activate it, which allows you to cast it from your Spellblade, which allows you to hit things with your Spellblade for the damage that your Spellblade does, spread amongst everybody that's fluxed, including this creeper right here. As you can see, it deals quite a bit of damage. It multiplies your damage by 2.5, or 2.5 times, so it's a lot of damage. You can also just apply it to one person and keep hitting them, which is a lot of damage. So now I'm going to cover Effigies, although we haven't covered all the spells yet, because Effigies modify the damage that you do, including some of your spells, but particularly Ward Flux has some nice combinations with the Echoing Effigy. If you put it in your left hand, your damage will be repeated half a second after you do the damage. Or is it a quarter second? I forget. Anyways, if you were to cast Ward Flux, it would deal this double damage doubly. So it's a lot of damage. It also deals the damage to everybody that you hit. So it's a lot of damage, as I have said before. I should tell you that casting spells is not limited to casting one at a time. As you can see right now, I am casting both Splitting Trident as well as Warrior Flux at the same time, to the same instance of right-clicking through my Spellblade. It does not proc the actual Flux hit itself, though. You have to hit things with your sword in order to do that. So next, I'll show you Ward Light. It can be activated, but it places a Ward Light on the ground. I should tell you that these spells cost 40 mana. As you can see on the bottom, or not mana, ward. It costs 40 ward, base ward. As you can see, I'm casting 2 spells at the same time, which cost me 40 base ward for 4 seconds. Which means my ward goes down to 0 for 4 seconds. If I were to get another spell, let's show Volatile Orb right now, which shoots orbs of fireballs, basically, that explode on enemies. It will go down to negative. Yes, ward can go down to negative, so be careful. When you're at negative ward, you'll take double damage for every 50 ward that you have negative, and you'll take damage if you cast spells while you're at negative ward. Although I don't believe that the damage that you take from ward, or damage that you take from casting spells while at negative ward, is affected by the ward damage reduction at all. I don't think it is. So next is Reverberating Ray. If this were Minecraft version 1.19, which is not, I'm at 1.18 right now, it would shoot the Warden Sonic Boom projectiles. They're not projectiles, particles, but sadly this is 1.18 and I don't have access to those, and I don't want to re-add those textures. So these are the textures that I'm using. Basically, if you shoot it once, it has a large spread at first, but as you continue the channel with the book, it converges and it deals up to 3 times its original damage. You can cast it from your Spellblade, which makes it double fire, once with high spread and once with low spread. So I believe that's it for damaging spells. Let's oh yeah. Next is channeled spells, such as Nullifying Stance, Blade Flurry, Vengeful Stance, Interloper Stance, and I'll get to animate later. So basically, if I were to use this Nullifying Stance, these stance spells and channeled spells need to be activated in order to do anything and need to be used through your Spellblade. So if I were to use this spell against this skeleton, you can see I am swiping away the projectiles that the skeleton is shooting at me. If I were to deal with Vengeful Stance, it hits the person that hits you while you're channeling your Spellblade. If the arrows wouldn't bounce off of you. Next is Interloper Stance, which with the Interloper's Glove, I'll show you that too. Interloper's Glove lets you access your Ender Chest for 80 ward. And Interloper Stance if you were to get hit by a melee enemy, you'll teleport behind them if it can do that. And if it can't teleport you behind them, it'll teleport you right on top of them, so be careful. Also, it will flux the enemy that hits you if it's close enough. Ranged enemies can also proc this effect if they are close enough. I think the limit is 4 blocks. So, next, and the most recent addition to my Spellblade arsenal is Blade Flurry, which summons a flurry of blades that hit your enemies in a circle that is centered slightly in front of you. So the circle, the sphere will encase you, but you will be at the back of the sphere at all times. So you can still somewhat aim it. And it does still hit slightly behind you. And lastly, or not lastly, I will show you this work in progress. This is the Sentinel Totem block, which allows you to animate it if you have enough ward. You need 80 ward, so I have enough. I could animate it. Not the Sentinel block, the block of iron. Block of iron animated, it will make a sentinel that goes around and shoots things that don't have totemic zeal. So as you can see, I have totemic zeal, so it's not shooting me. Let me just kill it real quick. It will chase down monsters and anything basically that doesn't have totemic zeal. So it's wise to put it next to your activated warding totems. And I forgot to show you Enter's Gaze, which summons an and your eye that shoots lasers like the Sentinel does. And I believe this is the last thing. Oh, teleport. Allow. So, warding totems, you need to put them on top of each other. And if you have somebody on the same totem pole as you, let's say, in my case, me, I'm gonna attune my teleport spellbook to myself, and if I have enough ward, I need 160, I believe, which is a lot. So let me go up to 160 anytime now. As you can see, it's very close to 160, so it won't let me go up to 160. And there's the rainbow texture. It will teleport me to myself in 4 seconds. There we go. Chaining effigy. You hit things, it chains. Blasting effigy. You kill, it explodes. Warded iron block. You put it on the ground, you stand on it, you get 160 ward, which is quite a bit. Ward light. It just places a light. You need to put something down to extinguish it. And ward tempered. You put on your sword, it gives you extra ward while you're channeling it, so I have a lot of ward now, which, as you can imagine, gives me a lot of damage, and as well as a lot of damage reduction, as long as I'm channeling my sword and hitting things with it. So right now, 18.31 damage, a lot of damage. Lesser warding, greater warding. You put these on your warded armor, and it gives you 20 extra ward for lesser warding on a full set, and I think 60 additional base ward on a full set of warded armor. Band of Friendship. It doesn't serve much of a purpose right now, but it prevents auto-targeting abilities such as the Ender's Gaze from hitting things that are friendly and neutral. And lastly, I will show you some crazy interactions with Spellweaver's Orb and triggered spells. So let's see. Vengeful Stance, not Vengeful Stance, Volatile Orb. Let me activate some of these. Remember, you can just right click on these things and it works. So let me activate the Spellweaver's Orb. Do that, but forgot it lightning will allow me to do that, but as you can see, it's casting all the spells at once on cooldown, which allows for some crazy interactions. I don't know if you can actually hear me right now due to all the explosions and chimes, but yeah, it's doing everything. And it's pretty cool. And it does a lot of damage, as you can imagine. Let me finish this off by hitting them. Alright, so that I think wraps it all up for this mod at the moment. I've added a lot to it. It's been quite a ride. So I will see you later, and have a good one.